Showtime fiasco, I think HBO's biggest mistake wasn't losing Floyd Mayweather. It wasn't losing Golden Boy. I think it was losing Adrian Broner. If Adrian Broner continues on the pace he is with the skills he set forth, he becomes that next cash cow.
He becomes the next money man.
Is it his maturity, or is he trying to put a persona out there to become the villain? Who knows? All I know is when he gets in the ring, unlike Floyd, he comes to fight, and he's gonna try to knock you out, but he's gonna try to get hit himself. He's not Floyd Mayweather. I'm the biggest Floyd Mayweather fan you'll meet. Floyd is defensive. He's a mastermind. He's a genius. Adrian Broner is a dog. He is a fighter with skills that we only see in classic boxers.
Exactly.
This is where HBO messed up.
That's my point.
The next biggest cash cow in the game.
That's my point exactly. In the ring, he's close to being a master in the ring. He's got skills. He's got the out of the ring. Is the public going to buy? Is the public, because it's easy for the public to turn off on a fighter, whether you got mad skills or not. Now they're going to continue to follow Adrian Broner and support him and make him become that cash cow, or are they going to be turned off because of his personal life? That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not questioning his skills. He's got skills. I mean, you don't get fighters that come around like that every day. Okay. On the other side, Paulie Malignaggi has proven that he can handle being in the ring with anybody.
Yes.
With anybody.
Yes.
Okay.
But what has he proven? In all of his losses, they were step-up fights. He's proven he can beat the guys he needs to beat. He's never proven he can beat the guy he's not supposed to beat, though.
Well, no, I'm going to disagree with that because we got to see him go into Texas and fight Julio Diaz, okay?
Yep.
And beat him and get robbed, okay? If you really want to be technical about it, Paulie Malignaggi in the last few years has turned into your classic road warrior. He's a guy that nobody really wants to see because we know what he brings. He's not going to knock you out. He's going to give you a boxing lesson. And it's easy to get frustrated against somebody like Paulie.
You're absolutely right. But you said classic, he's a road warrior. Why? He doesn't have a following. So he can't fight at home in New York. He is now. But he's fighting against a bigger name.
Well, New York is starting to slowly get back on the map.
It is.
Oh, yeah. So Brooklyn's
New York was up for a while. That's the only reason why.
He doesn't have a hometown following. He doesn't have a big-time following. And he's positioned himself as not being exciting, not having that punching power to bring people in. He has to take these fights.
See?
He doesn't have a choice to sit back. Like, he got into it with, I can't think of the kid's name. He goes, I don't fight for co-main event money.
Mm-hmm.
Paulie, he does fight for co-main event money because he's not a superstar. He's kind of built himself up with that persona now and he's always been a trash talker. He's always been flamboyant.
Mm-hmm.
He himself uses some of these same tactics to bring fans in. Does he have boxing ability? Of course. It's the naked eye sees the boxing ability there, but he doesn't have that following to bring in the fights he wants, to have his hometown following. So he has to be a road warrior. He has to take these fights.
See, exactly what we talked about in the last segment. Paulie is an ideal person that you and I and the boxing person that knows boxing loves to watch exactly. Because we watch it and we can see what he's doing in the ring.
Exactly.
The average fight fan, not so much because they don't see the big wham bam knockdowns and stuff like that, and they don't see the skills of the defensive turns and the counter punching and things like that. People that follow boxing a little closer have learned to appreciate that. They appreciate that. They love that. So yes, you're absolutely right. His following in the general public is not that of like a Floyd or a Maidana or anyone that's big in there. So what do? I mean, that's Paulie. You can't ask him to change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he does.
Well, my number one issue with this fight is that Adrian Broner is allowed to jump up 2 weight classes, having not really not, when you, like you said, Eric, having not really proven anything to be able to get a shot at a title. This leads into what you were saying about the marketability of Paulie. You know, he almost had to take this fight. I mean, it's great for Broner. If Broner wins, great for him. If he loses, most people like me are going to say, well, he jumped up 2 weight classes, you know, might have bit off a little more than he could chew, you know. But this fight, to me, is going to be interesting for one reason. I don't think anybody's going to get knocked out in this fight. Paulie's not going to get knocked out. Broner's not going to get knocked out. So it's going to be a decision, and we're going to get to see if Adrian Broner is able to match
outscore.
That's right, to match hand speed and foot speed with somebody who's on his level.
And wits.
That's what
don't forget,
this is going to be one of the first fights where
he's not
the bigger guy.
Not only the bigger guy, the smarter guy in the ring.
I would agree.
Okay, now before we get into that, I got to disagree with you on something.
Okay.
When you said Paulie has to take this fight.
Well,
okay, Paulie don't have to take this fight. Let me tell you why. Because Paulie right now is doing an excellent job in commentating. As a matter of fact, it's been a long time that we've had a good commentator that can actually commentate on the fight and the people in the ring
and not be a shill.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
We went through the Foremans. We went through the Merchant was actually got to be pretty good, but we went through and we got the
bubblegum lips.
Exactly. Tarver, and they're terrible.
Yes.
Paulie actually brings a good. He's got a career in commentating, and that pays very good.
He's great.
He says he's not ready to quit boxing.
Exactly. That's my point. He didn't have to take this fight.
Okay.
He's not done with boxing.
Right.
In his mind, he's not done with boxing.
You say he doesn't have to take the fight. You say he still he still likes to fight, wants to fight. Who else would he fight though?
Well, actually, he has fights on the table. He had the
there's fights on the table.
He had a lot of options.
Not a name like Adrian Broner. Exactly. That's why I agree with Steve when he says he has to take this fight because it's Showtime. It's Adrian Broner. There's nothing bigger for Paulie to. Commentary pays great money, but it isn't going to pay the 7 figures that Paulie's never made for a fight. Like this one is going to pay him. And
I agree. I mean,
he has to take this fight. Like
I agree. I agree. It's a fight, but let me tell you why Paulie took this fight. Let me tell you, it's not so much in my eyes that he had to take the fight. He took this fight because he honestly feels he's going to win this fight. This ain't a show he's putting on. He honestly knows in his mind he's going to go in there and win this fight.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, it's not. He's not doing it for money.
Yeah.
It's not a payday. It's not this. And he knows that this is an opportunity that fell in his lap because once he beats Adrian, I'm talking from Paulie's perspective. Mm-hmm. Once he beats Broner, it's another big fight.
Exactly.
Big major fight for him.
And that's where we've got you right where we want you, right in the middle here, in a sense, because like we said, he's the WBA welterweight title holder. Mm-hmm. Okay, in the welterweight division, okay. There are so many guys we have sitting right there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that Paulie does not want to get in the ring with. I mean, just because of their big punching ability. Okay, Paulie doesn't want to. This was a fight. I agree with Eric. This fight, he had to take this when it was offered because it fits right into his wheelhouse. He wants to fight somebody that he can outbox, give him a boxing lesson. He doesn't want to be in there with somebody that's a big hitter
like Keith Thurman.
That might hit him. And see, and that was now. There you go.
The name just came to me. Yeah,
that's right. Keith Thurman called him out big time.
And what was it? I don't fight for.
Okay, he called Paulie out.
He called Paulie out at a press conference.
Thurman can't beat Paulie.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
Thurman cannot beat Paulie. Thurman needs to get a little more experience. He's got to get a little more fights under his belt.
That's what you say. But Paulie wasn't anxious. I mean, Paulie, like Eric said, the first thing he said was, "I don't fight for undercard money."
Okay. Well, that's what, and he's absolutely right.
Well, that's what he's going to fight for.
They're not going to
anybody else other than Broner. He's going to fight.
Other than Broner, he's fighting for co-main event money.
That's why he didn't take the fight with Thurman because there's nothing there.
No, because he don't want to get that ass whooping. I'm telling you right now.
Okay. Well, guys, we know. There again, I know Paulie personally.
I know.
Okay.
He's a
great guy. I'm not saying he's not a great guy.
I know his skills. Mm-hmm. I know what Tommy puts in there, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the guys that you don't want to get in there and try to talk trash to him.
Well, that's a whole different game.
Let me tell you just a little story. When we went out and I took Donald Camarena, at that point Donald was undefeated, was the WBC Continental Champion, and we went out to fight Paulie. Okay, we went to the press conference, okay? And,
Not to mention, Donald's a talker too.
And Donald's a talker too. So I talked to Donald, and this is just one thing that we didn't want to get it. I knew when I talked to Donald, I said, we're not going to get into a battle with Paulie. You know, we can talk shit out here in the lobby and stuff, which we did, and it's all in fun and stuff. But when it came time to the press conference, I didn't say anything. And Paulie got up and he addressed the meeting. He says, well, you know, after we've been talking off camera back and forth, I knew what Aurelio and Donald were bringing. And I had this whole thing where I was getting ready to light him up. But since Aurelio was nice, we're going to keep it nice. I said, good.
Well, see, like Eric said, I think that, once again, this is a part of making this fight with Adrian Broner intriguing, because Paulie has already gotten his head. He's already got his head shut him down. And I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I'm talking about. We start talking about a common date that these two have had.
They have a common girlfriend named Jessica. We'll just leave it at that.
Now, okay, and he shut him down to where now Adrian Broner, he had to realize, hey man, if this is the big time, I might not be ready for this big time. But I expect this to really be a good fight. For us as boxing purists, I expect this to be a good fight because we got the young buck Adrian Broner coming up, very talented, amateur background, awesome. We got the wily veteran boxer in Paulie Malignaggi, who, like you said, knows all the tricks of the trade. And I don't know if Adrian Broner is ready for that. But at the same time, like we said, it's a fight that they both need. They'll both make good money. If Adrian Broner loses, really doesn't hurt him because he's jumped up 2 weight classes. He can go back down and he can still make his mark. How long he can hold on to that title is another subject.
I disagree with that. If he loses, he's not in a real good position to be the cash cow. But we got to get to the last fight before we end the segment. Real quick. Okay, your pick on this fight. Okay. Go on.
I've already told you. I like Malignaggi. I think he's got too much experience.
Eric?
I think Broner stops him around the 9th or 10th round.
And of course, I'm going to go with Paulie. Okay. So now let's go to this last show before we end this segment. The next show. Because we can talk about that fight for a long time, and we will. We'll come back and talk about that on another show. But
Triple G?
We want to talk about Showtime's June 27th bout between Andre Berto and Jesus Soto Carras. And then on the other side, the HBO side, we got Triple G against Matthew Macklin. Okay, let's compare that one now. Okay, so now we got.
Well, let's do Berto and Soto Carras first. Soto Carras first. Eric?
Andre Berto was one of my favorite fighters a few years back. I had tagged him to be one of the next big superstars in boxing. Obviously, it hasn't turned out that way. I've hit a few misses along the road. I tagged Jeff Lacey to be a future champ at one point. Andre Ward has got me off that skid. Obviously, I'm on the Adrian Broner band camp right now too. I think Soto Carras is a bad style matchup for Andre Berto. A lot in the lines of Robert Guerrero, a pressure fighter who doesn't stop coming, who's going to smother Andre Berto's shoulder roll, who's going to smother his counter-punching ability. Obviously, Berto has the skills to win. I just think it's a bad style matchup that, like we said, Paulie had to take this fight. Berto had no choice but to take this fight. He's coming off a loss. He wants to stay on HBO. I think it's a bad style matchup for him. I will pick Berto to win, but I won't be surprised if he loses.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I agree with you. I'm not going to take Andre Berto for the reasons that you said. I like Soto Carras for many reasons, but I've been on his bandwagon in his last 6 or 7 fights. I think he's a very hard-nosed, grinded out type of fighter. The type of fighter that, like you said, I agree 100% that it's a bad matchup for Berto, because Berto is the grinded out, hard-nosed kind of fighter, and I just think it's a bad matchup. I would not be surprised to see Soto Carras stop him within 10 rounds.
Okay. And on my point, as everyone out there that knows me knows, I'm not a big Berto fan. Okay, I've just never been. I think you're exactly right. Just like Lacey, I think he tricked everybody into thinking he was going to be the next thing. So just to put that out there, I'm not a big Berto fan. But in this fight, he's gonna knock out Karras. He's gonna win this fight. So we're at odds. I just think this fight is like you say. It's a fight he has to take in to make his name back in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Berto hits too hard for Karras to keep the pressure. So my pick is that Berto's gonna actually stop Karras.
So we got two Berto stopping Karras and me with Karras.
I don't think he stops Karras. I think
Decision.
he wins a close decision,
Okay.
2 or 3 points on the scorecards. But if Soto Karras stops Berto, I would not be surprised.
Good.
All right.
The other side.
Triple
Let's go
G.
to HBO. Let's go to Triple G and Matthew. I think, in my point, I'll start this time. You guys started, but I'll start this time. I don't think this is really anything to really get excited. I think Triple G goes in there, takes care of business. I think he takes care of business easily. Okay?
And you're right. What HBO is doing with Triple G is they're building him up properly. They're
Okay.
putting opponents in there with the name recognition, a good enough record, but they might not have the chance to beat him. They'll look good, but GG will look better.
Yep.
I think he's a budding star. It hurts that he's not American. His interviews aren't that great. Not being able to pronounce his name might hurt him as well. At 160, what is out there for him at 160? Can he move down to 54 and fight a Martinez or a Canelo? Does he get the Chavez Jr. bout? Can he move up to 68 and fight an Andre Ward or a Carl Froch? He's 2 or 3 fights away from having to make some of these decisions. I believe he's in his 20th to 22nd fight already.
Mm-hmm.
About 25, about 26. When does he take that significant step up so we can really judge how good this kid is?
I agree. I hate to agree with you guys, but Triple G, I agree. You know, he's 26-0 with 23 KOs, and once again, to us hardcore boxing fans, we're familiar with him. To your average everyday fan, they're not familiar with him. Golovkin. It's easy to pronounce. I don't know how you make it tough. But I agree. I think this fight with Matthew Macklin is a kind of stay busy fight. Okay, and maybe get people familiar with him and his style and his name. I do agree, though. He is, for us that follow boxing, we know he's a guy to watch. He's very talented, very entertaining, and he can end the fight with one punch at any time. So
And he usually does.
Yes,
Yeah, he usually does.
and that's
does.
about as much as we can say about that fight. And I think, like you said, HBO for them, they got several fighters, and I think that's what's going. They just keep busy fighters, and let's see what happens.
And I agree. I mean, but they're not going to compete with Showtime putting these kind of fights on.
No.
I like Triple G. I'm a big follower of his. I like him. I like his style. I think he's going to do things. But if he keeps being held back, and he's being held back, he's going to lose that window of opportunity. He's got to go up there and step in and fight a big name. Like, I don't know what it is. If they have to make the fight like between him and, who's that, Sergio
Martinez.
Okay, I think that fight right now is perfect for Triple G.
Well,
because Sergio's on his way out. Sergio's trying to fight like he doesn't know how, with all this movement and stuff like this. That's not Sergio. So I think Triple G can take a big name out, and make that move.
Well, before we move on, excellent points, but I think Eric hit on it right. We've got several guys, and you mentioned Andre Ward, you mentioned Chad Dawson, you mentioned Sergio Martinez, you mentioned Triple G. These are guys that have a decision that they have to make, on what weight they're going to fight at, if they're going to go after the money or if they're going to be content with the title. We know the way it is right now, being content with the title means nothing. Okay, you got to go after the money. So these guys are going to have to, make some decisions and see how it fails out.
But it doesn't translate. I mean, the perfect example is
Floyd and
the young kid that Chavez's son, Julio Chavez Jr. He's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Content with the title, not chasing the money,
Yeah.
being content with what he is. Now he's in danger. He'll never be a household name.
Well, now what he's going to have to do, he's really probably going to have to go to light heavyweight. I mean, that's what's going on.
So that's what I'm saying. These fighters got to make a decision. They got to make a decision. Money, making it to the big money translate into taking the risk,
Exactly.
taking that
And
fight.
we'll talk more about where money comes in when we talk about the Mayweather fight, because I have a few.
Yeah.
I have a few interesting thoughts on Mayweather and where he's gotten to at this point in his career.
Yes.
So we'll touch on that later.
And we're gonna come back with the segment and we're talking